Welcome into another episode of the Laser Bros podcast. We're your hosts, Logan and Luke Lazarchik. Today, August 28th, 2025, Thursday. We usually record this on Friday, but we are recording on Thursday today. We just got back from New York yesterday. Long drive the last 2 days. Pretty cool experience, though. We got to see Yankees and the Red Sox play at Yankee Stadium and then go to the U.S. Open, watch two really good matches. Venus Williams, who's I think she's 45 now, potentially playing her last U.S. Open tournament, and then Carlos Alcaraz, who is arguably one of the most. I think he's the most entertaining player in the world, but Sinner's probably the best player, most consistent player in the world. But yeah, really fun trip, and we get to return and talk football, which is now officially 1 week away from the kickoff of the NFL season. We'll be doing our division predictions today and predictions for the overall 2025 NFL season. Luke, I know, like I said, we just came back from a long trip, so I don't know if you're still feeling the fatigue of that, but how excited are you about predicting the divisions today and the rest of the award Super Bowl playoff picture for 2025 NFL season?
Yeah, I'm excited. Last night, I kind of went through in my head, going to bed, going through all of my divisions, going through all the playoff picture, how I see it, awards. I think that, honestly, my favorite, I have some fun awards. I think my playoff picture, kind of unique, but kind of basic. Divisions, I got a couple interesting things in there. And so I'm excited to go through. I'm excited for football, a week away. It kind of doesn't feel like a week away. I feel like there's been so much going on and just like, it's kind of like, oh wow, it's already here. But I'm excited. It's about time for football. I've enjoyed the basketball and tennis. Been fun. Tennis going, and we saw tennis, but it's time for football. College football started poorly. My K-State, not a good week for them. Week 0, but they'll bounce back hopefully.
Yeah, college football kicks off tonight, but I believe there's also games tonight. I haven't really looked at the schedule for college football for tonight. I don't know what marquee teams or if there's any marquee matchups. But as you said, football feels like it's officially here. We've had training camp, we've had preseason, we've had a few fantasy football drafts. So it finally feels like that we are here at the start of 2025 NFL season. As I said, we will be doing our division predictions, and that's what we will start with today. And we'll start with the AFC side of things because it just seems a little bit more straightforward, maybe a little bit more chalky. So we'll start with the AFC side, and we'll start with the AFC South. Luke, how do you see this division playing out? And, is there any surprises you have in this division?
I feel like this division, it's really a question. 2 through 4, I feel like everyone, most people have the Texans at 1, and it's kind of how do the Colts, Titans, Jags shape out. So I have Jags at 4. I like their roster, but there are some things that, they're still the Jaguars. I like Liam Cohen too, but it's really more about I have the Titans at 3. I kind of like Cam Ward this year to have a really good year. I've kind of risen more and more on Ward as like halfway through last college season, just more climbing on him. And then I have the Colts at 2. My boy Daniel Jones won his job, rightfully so. He has a lot of weapons to work with. The defense, they did cut my boy Juju Brents, which go Cats. He got picked up by the Dolphins, I believe. Was it the Dolphins?
Dolphins have basically picked up every corner available.
I think they picked up Brents. Yeah, so I like the Colts. I think they're going to be a fun team. And then Texans, number 1. I feel like most accomplished coach, best quarterback, best pass rushers, best corner, best wide receiver. I don't know if that's best wide receiver. But overall, I like them. Not a great running game. I don't have records with this, but yeah, that's my 4 through 1.
Yeah, mine's definitely different than yours. I think 2 through 4, I think we actually disagree with on every team. I have the Tennessee Titans at 4. I think rookie quarterback, an unproven head coach, not totally in love with the roster. I don't think the roster's there yet. I don't think they have the weapons to help Cam Ward. Ty Spears on the IR. I just think that they still have a lot of holes on that roster. And, they acquired L'Jarius Sneed a couple years ago. He really hasn't panned out, still dealing with injuries. So I have Tennessee at the 4 spot. I have the Colts at the 3 spot. I think, Dan Jones did win that job. I think it was just more about running the offense, all that. I don't think Dan Jones was spectacular this preseason, but I think he won the job just based on able to function in that offense. Anthony Richardson just made too many, just boneheaded mistakes in the preseason to really give the Colts hierarchy the trust in him. But yeah, the Colts, I think it's hard to trust in that quarterback situation for me. So I have the Colts at third place. I love the rest of the roster. Really good weapons. Still have question marks about that secondary in general, but they do still have marquee players in, key spots on the defense side of the ball. Second, I have the Jacksonville Jaguars. I think, big year for Trevor Lawrence, Liam Cohen, first-year head coach. It's definitely a learning curve from being a coordinator to a head coach. I didn't really like they got Travis Hunter. I wasn't in love with them trading all of those future assets to get him because they weren't a Travis Hunter away from being, a contender. And I do not have them. I have them in second place in this division, but it does not mean that they're going to be necessarily good. And then one, like you said, pretty straightforward, the Houston Texans. I think a lot of people are overthinking this. They're plus 115, according to FanDuel, to win this division. And like you said, best quarterback, best head coach. Not the Jacksonville probably is the best wide receiver and potentially best wide receiver tandem in the division. But I think Houston just defensive pass rushing, corner, quarterback, head coach, the top priorities, positions for a successful team. They have the edge in all those categories. So I'll have Houston win this division. I think main question marks are offensive line and the running attack is probably the main question marks for this team.
No, yeah, they have some question marks, but I don't think it's anything. I honestly think if Daniel Jones is really good, I think they're the only team that could contend. Maybe Jags a little bit, but honestly, I'm low on the Jags.
If Trevor Lawrence plays well.
Yeah, we'll see. I've started losing more faith in him. I kind of was high on him, and I'm like, what? I just don't think he's good. But with Travis Hunter playing more receiver, that makes me more down on them because I don't think the impact's going to be as there much on the team at wide receiver 2, especially when you have someone like De'Ami Brown who was pretty good last year who could be a wide receiver 2. So, yeah, and it's just, could Titans before? Yeah, they could. I'm not too strong on Titans being 3. I just like Cam Ward. And then, yeah, we'll see what my boy Daniel Jones does. I have faith in the lad to build a solid team.
You have more faith. So you think Daniel Jones can play well, but you think there's no chance or little chance that Trevor Lawrence plays well?
No, I think
I'm not a huge believer in Trevor Lawrence, but I do think with those weapons, Liam Cohen, I think he's basically carry over the system that he had in Tampa Bay. You'll see a running back by committee. And I think Brian Thomas Jr. will play the Mike Evans role. Travis Hunter will play the Chris Godwin role, and then you'll have everything else fall into place. Trevor Lawrence, obviously a huge year for him. At this point, I don't think there's many believers in him, but I do think if he does play well this year, they do have a chance, in my opinion, to steal this division. It really just comes down to if Houston should win this division as long as they're competent. And they had a lot of injuries last year. Basically their entire receiving corps was out. Their 3, 4, and 5 receivers were their first, second, and third receiver from portions of the season last season. I think if they stay healthy, and Joe Mixon's already, I think there's a chance Joe Mixon doesn't play this year. But I think if Dameon Pierce, Nick Chubb, Woody Marks, I think they could be competent. I think Houston should by far win this division pretty handily as well.
Houston was bad last year and won the division, so I don't really have any questions about them winning the division. Jags, but you're saying, I don't know, I just don't trust it. I think the Colts have more of an infrastructure around Daniel Jones than the Jags do, even though I like Liam Cohen. Doesn't mean that it's all together. And Jags may have the best weapon, but the Colts have a better assortment of weapons. A rookie tight end, like Warren, could be a better receiver than Travis Hunter as a receiving weapon. I still don't know how good Travis Hunter truly is receiver. And then, you got Pittman, Downs, Pierce, Donnie Mitchell, John Taylor. So, yeah, I think they have more around them than the Jags have around Trevor.
I think Colts arguably have the best just skill position group in the division as a whole. I would probably say that. For me, it's just the quarterback plays. I think that holds it back. Let's shift over to the AFC East. I think another pretty straightforward division. How do you see this division play now?
Yeah, it's another one where most people you're picking, the 1 seed is pretty set in stone. The Bills. I like the Bills. I like Josh Allen. I think if it weren't for Mahomes, Josh Allen probably have a Super Bowl or 2 now. So I have the Fins at 4. I think it's going to fall apart. Do you think Dolphins are going to fall apart or not? I think they will. And then I have Jets at 3. I really like their defense. I don't like Fields, but I feel like with the defense aspect and then the running game that they should have, and kind of similar to Chicago, they're not going to be world beaters or anyone like that, but better offensive line, running back duo. They should be able to beat some teams, surprisingly beat some teams like the Dolphins. Fields does some running stuff. I still don't think he's good, but his feet can do things. Pats at 2. I like the Pats. Drake May's my guy. I feel like if they trade Jacoby Myers, they're going to even better. It's going to hurt my fantasy team a little with Stephon Diggs. But I like Vrabel. I think their weapons are better. They have some good defensive talent, nothing insane. And I'm really thinking May kind of hits the scene, maybe top 10 quarterback this year. And then, as I said, Bills number 1. I don't think that's too controversial. Josh Allen, Bills, pretty easy there.
Yeah, we're pretty much in lockstep. I just flipped the Dolphins and the Jets. So I have the Jets in 4th, Dolphins in 3rd. But I do have the Patriots finishing 2nd in this division. I think they're going to be one of the most improved teams in the league. Spent over $100 million in cap space in free agency. Drake May, I think, takes that next step. They finally have a competent coach in Mike Vrabel. They finally, I think they finally have a vision for that organization. They had Jerron Mayo last year, who was a very passive coach. Really, I didn't like how he handled really anything, quite frankly, with you last season. But yeah, for me, like the Bills, by far, are easily the best team's division. I do have question marks about their roster in general, especially defensively. I think they have a very weak secondary. Their first-round pick just went on the PUP, or I think he's on the PUP list or IR. And his Maxwell or Harrison that they drafted out of Kentucky, he's not going to be there. They got Poyer back. They signed him back yesterday, I believe. But for me, like I would love to put the Jets in 3rd place in this division, but Justin Fields' performance in the preseason was very alarming to me. And I've been a Justin Fields defender for the longest time, and I think I'm finally jumping off ship on the Justin Fields ship. I think, to be honest, I think I think Dolphins have the worst roster in this division. I think they have the firepower of Tyreek Hill, Jalen Waddle, but do you really trust any of those guys, especially Waddle, to stay healthy? I personally think Tyreek Hill gets traded this season at some point before the trade deadline. And Tua has played 1 full season in his career, so it's tough for me to really trust that. Now, if he gets hurt again and misses significant time, they probably do finish last in this division. I would really like the Jets to finish 3rd in this division, but I just don't. And I think they're going to stick with Fields. I don't think they're going to make a trade at quarterback if he struggles, because it's Aaron Glenn's first year. He has a stability there. They're not going to fire him if the bottom falls out. So I think they're going to stick with Fields regardless, even if it's just terrible play from him. And I think they could just plan for 2026 and tank a little bit. They do have the roster. That roster is very good. I just feels to me, I don't know, man. Very alarming performance in preseason.
Yeah, I don't take preseason much into account for most things. The only thing I really take preseason account for, is this one receiver coming out of nowhere who's really good. And then, is there like a pass rush who actually has like just going nuts, like Ashton Gillette for the Chiefs. But, Justin Fields has never been good, and he's still been able to win 7 games with the similar type of team. So that's why I think, and I honestly think the vibes are better with the Jets this year than they definitely were before. They're better than Fields' previous teams. I really think they're going to have a good run game. And then you combine that with Fields' rushing ability. He wasn't doing bad with Pittsburgh last year. It's kind of just what Pittsburgh was. And are you telling me that Pittsburgh team could outperform the Dolphins team this year? Yeah. So to me, but I still think Dolphins have like a better chance of like having like a above 500 season just because they've done it. Tua can still do it with some space and in the middle of the field, not too far down the field. But yeah, I kind of had those 2, 3, and 4, and then Patriots. They're going to be around the playoffs or in the playoffs for me. So they're definitely. I think it's going to be like week 16. They're going to be a handful of teams fighting for those final wild card spots. And it's going to be interesting to see how that falls. So and then the Bills. We were saying. We had concerns about their roster last season. Then they almost went to the Super Bowl. So not really too concerned about the Bills. They keep challenging Chiefs every year. It's just about having that one play work. And it seems like they still can't get it to work. But so, yeah, I don't really have concerns about their roster.
Let's now move to AFC North, the 3rd division in the AFC. I think this is almost not a straightforward division, but, some people maybe some people view the Bengals as a potential team that could steal the division. How do you see AFC North potentially playing out, and do you have any surprises in this division?
Mine's pretty basic. The Browns at 4. They're the Browns. Let's see if Joe Flacco could do insane stuff. Pittsburgh at 3. I see another 7 to 10. I mean, I guess not 7 or 8 would not be technically the same because they get equal to or above 500 every year, even though they did go 8-1 one year to save it. But they're just going to be around that little area fighting for relevancy. Rodgers will have a good week. 2 bad weeks, a good week. So we'll see with that. I don't know. They're just kind of lame. Like, I think they're just lame to me. I don't care about them that much this year, unless Rodgers does something nuts and then they make it interesting. Number 2, so I have Ravens 1, Bengals 2, but I actually think it's going to be closer than most people think. I was pretty accurate on the Bengals last year. I was like to a T accurate on the Bengals. But I think this year they did keep everyone. They kept Trey Hendrickson. They kept T. Higgins. I don't think it's overall great path, but I think they can push for it. I think they're going to make a push at the Ravens, but I still think Lamar, Harbaugh, Henry, defense, talent. I still have Ravens at 1.
Yeah, I have the same exact division as you. Browns 4, Steelers 3, Bengals 2, and Ravens 1. Ravens, I think as a whole roster, they definitely have the most complete roster in this division. I don't really necessarily agree with people when you hear people say Ravens on paper or they have like the best roster in the entire NFL. I think that's always been a hyperbolic, thought on the Ravens, and that's been the thought process I think for the last 2-3 years. The Ravens have this complete roster, which they do, but I think receivers. I'm not in love with the receivers, and that's probably the biggest blemish on their roster is probably receiving core. Zay Flowers, I think, is a very solid receiver. I'm not sure if he's a 1, but there's a lot of times he disappears. But for me, the Ravens, I don't think you could really back the Bengals to win this. It's just tough to do it with that defense. And I know the defense probably will be better this year with Hendrickson back. If Shamar Stewart is really a player, now you have 2 really at least solid pass rushers and an elite pass rusher with Hendrickson on the other side. It's just, and do they replicate what they did last season? They're going to have to, from offensive standpoint, to compete in games. Are we going to see that same type of production? And they definitely have the capability of doing that. It's just very tough from year to year to be that explosive of offense and think you're going to win games. Now they went 9-8 last year. The story with them is always the first 2 weeks of the season. Joe Burrow in his career is 1-11 in weeks 1 and 2 in his career. So if they can somehow turn around the ship in that regard, like if they play the Browns and the Jaguars the first 2 weeks, if they drop both those games, it's probably going to look exactly the same as last year. And to be honest, I don't really see right now. I don't see really a path where it's not going to look different from last year, unless Shamar Stewart really proves that he's a really good pass rusher. Because it's going to come down to that pass rush, I think, of this defense. I'm not in love with the secondary. And I think the offensive line is also a major concern. And I know preseason's not everything, but the offensive line was really bad against Commanders' defense in that preseason game. Joe Burrow was running for his life every drive.
No, yeah. I mean, I don't love them. They're 9-8. Like, they beat Denver late last year. I remember that was an interesting game. And I just okay, I feel like the vibes are a little better this year. I don't know why. I just think they are a little better.
You think the vibes are better? Henderson was holding out all. I don't see the vibes being any improved.
But now he's here and he's $16 million richer for not even being under. Like, Hendrickson, honestly, if I were him, this was a good deal. This was a good deal, I think, for him. Higgins is paid. He's happy. Jamar, I remember he wasn't paid. Was the whole Jamar situation?
No, they waited on Jamar. That's why he's making that. No, they waited on him.
Yeah,
they just paid him. Yeah, but they just paid this offseason.
No, yeah, but last year he didn't seem happy because remember he took insurance out on himself, so he doesn't have anything. So honestly, I think it's better even with even adding the Shamar Stewart stuff. And I just think 9-8, that was the worst. It's if they're a little better, they win one of those. They played the Ravens close twice, and it was they just couldn't make one play on defense. And it's say they split that, and it's you're looking.
And they arguably should have won both those games, especially the one in Cincinnati they should have won. I think McPherson missed a field goal that he should have made.
Yeah.
They lost to Baltimore that game. I think Baltimore Cincinnati went for 2 to win the game, and I believe there's a defensive pass interference call that they missed after watching. It was pretty egregious that was pass interference. But as I said, I'm looking at the schedule right now. They have Cleveland and Jacksonville. of course, you can't really afford to start 0-2. And I'm still going to put in the realm of possibilities. I mean, they lost to the Patriots last year, who was starting Brissett at quarterback, and nobody was expecting it like that. I think it was 16-10 that game. But after the first 2 weeks, they have Minnesota. After the first 2 games, they're on the road at Minnesota, at Denver, and then versus Detroit and at Green Bay. They cannot afford to start 0-2 like they have, or it's going to be the same exact story. And at that point, I mean, I think if they miss the playoffs this year, Zach Taylor's definitely out of a job.
Yeah. Their big stretch is 3-week stretch at Baltimore, at Buffalo, hosting Baltimore. I wish they had Baltimore for Week 18 because I think that could possibly be for the division. But so, yeah, that's a huge stretch in November there. But, yeah, I like them. I like them to be good. I like them to keep the Ravens on their toes. I'm actually pretty positive on the Bengals this year. Last year I wasn't. But, so, yeah, I think that'll be fun. It's not as much of a given, I think, as most people think for that division. I mean, just between those two, Pittsburgh Browns have no chance. Okay, so we are back. We've had some internet issues, so maybe a little choppy here, but going into AFC West predictions now, our final AFC division. I'll start with mine. I feel like mine's pretty basic. I feel like the AFC is much more basic than the NFC. I feel like the consensus is kind of where I'm going with. So I have Raiders at 4 team. I think that, they have possibly the worst quarterback, probably number 4 coach too. They have 2 nice weapons, but not the best weapons, not insane defense talent besides Crosby. So I feel like they're pretty easy 4. 3, I got the Chargers. They lost Slater, and a lot of people kind of fell off on them, but I still kind of like the Chargers. They're a good team. I think they're, as I said earlier, they're going to be, I think there's really like a Chargers, Colts, Patriots trio, Bengals in there too, fighting for the playoffs at the end between those 4. And then I was honestly, at one point I considered having Broncos 1, having them more as a regular season team, but the Chiefs are just Chiefs. So Broncos 2, I really like the Broncos. I think I can make an argument they're the 3rd best team if I think they're better than the Ravens, but there need to be a Bo Nix jump. I'm not quite there yet on that, but I take them over the Texans easily. And then Chiefs at 1. The Chiefs, Rice suspended, but still the Chiefs. It's hard to talk about the Chiefs much and just be like, okay, people don't like them. Last year was ugly. But I think, honestly, the passing game will be a lot better this year once Rice is back. And with Worthy, I really like Tyquan Thornton. So, yeah, I think that's kind of the consensus 1 through 4 on them. Most of my AFC is, I feel it's almost downright consensus.
Yeah, my AFC is basically a repeat of last year. I have the Raiders at 4. I really like what they did, hiring Pete Carroll. You get Geno Smith, you get Ashton Genty, you pair him with Brock Bowers. I think they upgraded at a lot of, key spots, key, positions in, really good teams. But I just don't think it's going to be enough to overcome these other teams. I still think they have the worst quarterback and probably worst head coach in the division still. Like Pete Carroll, and that Raiders defense is also I don't think it's a very good defense. I think their offensive line is still going to be problematic. And we saw Pete Carroll down the line in Seattle. The defense really fell off, and he's more of a defensive guy. So we'll see. I do really like Chip Kelly running that offense as well. I just don't think they have the personnel to match up with the other teams in this division. My 2 and 3 actually flipped because of the Rashawn Slater injury. I now have the Chargers in 3rd place. I think it's a really big deal. When you look at the Chargers, roster personnel, it's not really the best personnel. It's built on coaching, really strong offensive line play. You lose arguably one of the best left tackles in the league. Fortunately for them, Joe Alt does have experience playing left tackle, so he can slide over to left tackle, but now your right tackle is kind of compromised because Joe Alt is now playing at the left side. So I have them in 3rd place. I have the Broncos in 2nd. I think their roster is absolutely loaded, especially defensively. I'm still not fully on board with Bo Nix. I'm not sure. I think he's a good quarterback. I don't know if he's one of these, top tier guys that people are kind of thinking he could be, but I do think if he's just good enough, this roster is absolutely loaded with Sean Payton as head coach. I'm not in love with the receivers, but Hufanga, Dre Greenlaw, Bonito, those guys, and Pat Surtain. I mean, that defense is absolutely loaded. And they were a really good defense last year before those, Greenlaw and Hufanga came on board this offseason. So I have them in 2nd. And then, of course, the Chiefs at 1. Chiefs last year, main concern was the left tackle position, offensive line. I think Josh Simmons is now, even if he's not the superstar left tackle, he's already proven that he's probably better than whatever they were throwing out last year. And that's all they really need at left tackle just to be confident. And I think he's going to be beyond that. I think he's going to end up being a really good left tackle for the next decade or so for the Chiefs. But I do think as long as he's just competent this year, he doesn't even have to be a superstar. I think him just being slightly above average left tackle already solves that issue for them. And I think because of that, Mahomes, you're going to see him take the next step. Or not next step, but you'll see him kind of return to what he's been. And Rashee Rice out 6 games is definitely a hit, but they were 13-2 without Rashee Rice last year, so they're used to not having him in the lineup. Xavier Worthy's second year. So, yeah, I think Chiefs, pretty straightforward. They're at first place in the division. But like you said, it's pretty much chalk for AFC. That's why I wanted to start with the AFC side of things. Let's move over to the NFC side. Let's go to NFC South. This is a really interesting division to me. I do think I don't know if this one's as straightforward as people think, to be quite honest. And I think there's a specific team that's not getting the talk that I think that they deserve. But you can go ahead.
Yeah, I think I feel similar about that. I think this is an interesting division. It's not a great division. It's probably it's probably still the weakest division in the NFC. I would probably say I have Saints at 4. I think they're going to be the first pick. So does most people. I predicted them last year, doubling down this year. No more. They're not worthy of discussion. Number 3, I have Panthers, and the Panthers, I think I like Bryce Young. I got the Bryce Young Tet stack in Dynasty, or not in Fantasy. Now I wish that we kept Jalen Coker in Dynasty. He's going to play slot. I'm a part of the quote-unquote Coke heads, as they say on Twitter. Big Jalen Coker guy. I like what they're doing. I think Bryce played well. I have him at 3, but I think they get 2 or even 1 if some things go right. Number 2, I have the Bucs. Lots of injuries. Kate Otten is the newest one. You have Godwin. You have McMillan. You have Tristan Wirfs. So it's just a tough year, and I don't like the defense, even though Bucky is going to be top 6 fantasy running back, in my opinion. He'll get in there somehow. And then I have the Falcons at 1. I like the Falcons. I think Penix has a good year. They really need to make sure they hit one of these pass rushers, or it's going to be a
Jr.
problem.
and Jelani Walker.
One of them has to hit, and if they don't hit, it's going to be a real issue. But I believe one of them will hit, and I think, I like them. They were close last year. They've been close forever. I've been in on the Falcons for years. This is the year they're finally going to win it, even though I've probably predicted it the past 3 years. It's Falcons time.
I have the same exact rankings that you have. Falcons 1, Bucs 2, Panthers 3, Saints 4. I don't know if people remember, but the Falcons were 6-3 leading division last year, while the Bucs were 4-4, and the Bucs were a beat-up unit at that point. And then Kirk Cousins basically self-imploded and handed the Bucs that division, getting benched for Michael Penix the last 3 weeks. So, the Bucs for me, I don't think this is another topic that I don't think is getting talked about enough. They are quietly they're probably a top 2 banged up team so far in the preseason.
Mm-hmm.
You're not gonna have Chris Godwin. Now they didn't put him on the PUP, which I think that there's kind of holding out hope. If you place him on the PUP, he can't practice. They didn't place Tristan Wirfs on the PUP. I expect both players to miss 3-4 weeks. Godwin maybe even more.
Mm-hmm.
He had a catastrophic ankle injury last season. McMillan, he suffered that really scary neck sprain. He's going to be out. There's already reports he's going to be out past their week 9 bye. So Ibuka's going to step in and be a top contributor right away for this offense. But I think, as you said, too many injuries. And now Falcons did lose their right tackle, McGarry, for the entire season, which is actually a bigger deal because he is Michael Penix's blindside blocker, since Penix is a left-handed thrower. But I think, to me, Buccaneers defensively, I'm not in love that they lost key players in secondary, Carlton Davis to the Patriots, and there's a completely beat-up unit at this point. So I'm going to have the Falcons in first place. I think as long as they don't get the Kirk Cousins performance of last year for Penix, self-imploding. They were in the driver's seat to win the division last year. Probably should have won. So I'll take the Falcons to win that division. Let's now move to the NFC East. Really interesting division. Eagles defending Super Bowl champions, Commanders with Jay Daniels entering his second year. Kind of curious if you also see this as a chalk division or if there's any surprises in this one for you.
I think this is my first bold division. So we'll start off at 4. We have the Cowboys. I mean, I think Micah Parsons going to be a Packer with all the Twitter stuff. We're believing our boy. Why am I forgetting his Twitter name now? We all know. Yeah, Ricky. I think Mike Parsons could be a Packer, and the Cowboys are a mess. I think their offense could still be fun. Like I think it'd still be CeeDee Lamb, George Pickens, but I don't trust the defense fully, especially without Micah, Trayvon Diggs. We don't know when he's playing. So put them at 4. Number 3, I have Washington. It's a gut feel. It's a gut feel. It's not the most like, this reason. I don't love the roster. I like Jane Daniels a lot, but they won a lot of close games last year. They won a lot. They got a lot of 4th downs last year. They got a play that I love. They beat the Bears and completely changed the Bears season. It worked out for me, but I was lucky. They got a lot of luck on their side, but they were still good. But it's also so I'm not loving them, and I'm really liking the Giants at 2. I think they're going to have the best pass rush in football. I think Russ Wilson's going to do pretty solid in the offense. And I think Jackson Dart, I don't think it's because Wilson's going to be bad per se, but he may just be fine. I think Dart's going to come in at some point. I don't know when. I don't know the circumstances. I just think he's going to come in. And I like him enough where I think he's going to ride the ship to the 2 seed. And I mean, Neighbors has to have a great year, which I do think you'll have a good year. I like the running back tandem of Tracy Scatabo. See if the offensive line isn't horrific. So that's kind of my bold pick. Giants at 2, and then Eagles at 1. Just won the Super Bowl. Probably best roster in football. Unless you think Washington can win it. I know the Giants can't win the division. So, yeah, I'm going to have Eagles at 1. Pretty easy.
So we have not had a repeat NFC East champion for 20-plus years. And I've said this the last 3 years we've done this. And so I think it's going to potentially continue. I have the Giants in 4th. Now, I am kind of dumbfounded that you have them 2nd, but I understand your points. And I have them finishing in 4th, but I do not think that their record is going to vindicate how good that they could be in the future. I do really like the build of this team. I think the schedule is absolutely brutal. I mean, I think their first 8 weeks are playoff teams, and there's really no let up in their schedule. They have Saints week 5. That's not a playoff team, but their schedule, and I don't have the schedule in front of me, but it is a complete gauntlet. The entire there's no stretch of you get a nice break here. There's and I'll pull the schedule real quick. But for me, I think the Giants could finish with a bottom, 5-7 record, but that is not I don't think that record is going to vindicate of how good of a roster it is, and I do not think that they should, even if they finish in 4th, I do not think that they should fire Brian Dable. I do think in the next 5 years, I think they have a brighter future than the Cowboys by far for the next.
Oh yeah, easily, no matter what.
I don't think it's particularly close. For me, and I'm a schedule person, I think it just comes down to the schedule. And I'll pull it up quick here. So they have Washington, Dallas. I do think that they could potentially win one or both of those games. Then you have Chiefs, Chargers, Saints. Then I think this is the worst stretch possible. You have Philly at Denver at Philly. I mean, those
that's not easy
games. Then you have San Francisco at the Bears, Packers, Detroit, New England. Then you're bye, and then after your bye, you have Washington and Minnesota in those games, and then Raiders, who I think are not going to be a pushover this year. So for me, I solely think they're going to be bad just because of that schedule. It has nothing to do with, and I don't think Russell Wilson's that good. I do think Jackson Dart's going to come in sooner rather than later. I think we can see him week 5 at earliest. At 3rd, I have the Cowboys. Now, I do think Micah Parsons is going to end up being traded, and it kind of seems like all signs are points to the Packers at this point. There's too much smoke in that direction, I think, for that not to transpire. I think they're going to finish with a better record than the Giants, obviously, at 3rd, but I don't think there's really any optimism. And I think there's a lot of bad vibes with this team. Micah Parsons, clearly the Micah Parsons, Jerry Jones thing. Jerry Jones is sabotaging his team single-handedly.
Yeah, Jerry Jones is a mess.
Yeah, so I have Cowboys at 3rd. This probably won't surprise you, but I do have the Eagles in 2nd. This is another just gut feel. I think on paper they're clearly a better team than the Commanders. I just have a weird feeling that, this trend's going to continue to happen. And I think the Commanders are in the best position to win this division if it's not a repeat of the Eagles. So I have the Commanders at 1, Eagles at 2, Cowboys 3, and the Giants at 4. So it really, for me, this division, there's not really a lot of analytics I'm going to for the first and second place team. It's just really a gut feel for me.
We have this division very different. I do think that
this is probably our first division where I don't think we're in lockstep at all.
I think that pass rush is huge, and I really think the Giants' pass rush is going to be. I literally think maybe the only one that can be better is the Eagles. That's maybe it.
No, that's the thing. Like when you look at this division, and we're gonna go if you go team by team, elite. Like what's something they're elite at? Commanders, they have elite quarterback. Eagles, elite running back, elite defense, and elite receiver. Yeah. Cowboys, if you get rid of Parsons, I don't really think you're elite. You have CeeDee Lamb.
I think you have
and George Pickens.
Receivers.
You probably have an elite wide receiver team, but George Pickens will be gone. And I think if the defense is going to be bad, it's not really going to matter, especially if Parsons isn't there. The Giants have an elite pass rush. I think, can we say best pass rush in the league after this season? I think so.
Maybe,
yeah. So I really don't like where the Cowboys are going. I think the Giants, next 4 or 5 years, I think they have a real shot at winning multiple divisional titles if Jackson Dart hits, which at this point, I know preseason, we've seen the past Kenny Pickett look really good. But I do think Jackson Dart looks different than that. I do think that he could be a really good player for them. Better coaching as well. You have Brian Dable, which is why I don't think they should fire Brian Dable even if they finish with a really bad record. Because I think it's really going to be the schedule that really causes them to finish with that record. NFC North. This by far this is the toughest division for me to pick of all the divisions. What say you? What do you have as your 2025 NFC North finish?
So it hasn't been super tough. I've just been debating the winner of the division. And then I kind of thought about it in my head. And I was like, oh, actually, I feel pretty good about this. So we're starting with Bears at the 4. I think if you watched, I'm not big on the Bears. I think Caleb Williams may take a little while. I think the roster's not as good as people think. I don't think you have this great receiving. I like the O-line additions, which I do. That's my favorite part of their offseason. But I don't love the Bears this year. I don't love the Bears. We'll see what happens with them, but I'm not all in on them. So I have them at 4. Packers, and I'm considering in my head, I think they're going to have Micah. I still have them at 3. I think Micah makes them where they could actually contend, but I still just think the Lions and Vikings are in another tier, and we'll see what happens to Jordan Love. And then I was debating Vikings and Lions for a while, and then the past couple of days, I really thought about it. And people are like, oh, well, that's going to be different. People are low on the Vikings. And it's like, oh, and I remember that this is what everyone said last year. Everyone said it. Everyone were so low on the Vikings last year. I said they'd make the playoffs. And I was like, man, Vikings and Bengals were my picks last year. I hit. And I was like, I don't get this. This doesn't make sense. I think, again, the Vikings roster is better this year. They had a 2 interior linemen. Sam Darnold, we don't know if Sam Darnold's good at football. We don't. He played well with good receiver core that now just got better, adding Adam Thielen. So once it's week 4, Jefferson, Addison, Thielen, Hawkinson, 2 running backs I like, a better offensive line, stacked defense, keeping Brian Flores. So I have Vikings at 1, Lions at 2. And I was like, they still have possibly best quarterback guru coach. I just thought about it more this makes sense. And I like the Lions a lot. Even if they lost their coordinators, I've been well, the players are going to be healthy. So I literally think it's going to be the same exact thing as last year, where these two teams, I'm kind of spoiling my seeding, but I feel like it's kind of obvious. These two teams are fighting for the 1 seed, and the loser gets a 5 seed. I think it's going to be the exact same thing. And I think the Vikings will pull it out this year.
So for me, when I look at this division, I think this division has the most the quarterbacks have the most pressure in this division of all divisions. Caleb Williams, he really struggled his rookie year. There's now people really doubting his place. Mm-hmm. Can he be a really good quarterback in this league? I still am in that camp of he can be a really good quarterback. I really still am my star with Caleb. Jordan Love, is he really? Did he really have a 9-game stretch that was elite? JJ McCarthy, first year starting, really didn't see him have any in college. He was in a stacked offense, stacked scheme. Really didn't have to throw the ball on college. And then Jared Goff, with his offensive line injuries, does he get exposed? Does his mobility or lack thereof get exposed? I think there's a lot of question marks with these quarterbacks. For me, I agree with you. I have the Bears at 4th place. This is another situation where I don't think it's playoffs or bust for them. I think it's more important about Caleb developing. Let me ask you a question. If Caleb, let's say he proves that let's say after this year, and maybe if he's this, we view him as this consistent quarterback, maybe this is a disappointing year based on where we view him. But let's say let's say he proves to be a top 12, 15 quarterback in this league, but they still miss the playoffs. And let's say at the beginning of the year, they kind of start out slow, but towards the middle end of the year, you kind of see them progress, and that could be a carryover point for 2026. Is that a disappointing season for you if those things, top 12, 15 quarterback, and they win 8 to 9 games, but they miss out on the playoffs? Is that just I don't think it's playoff or bust for the Bears.
A lot of it depends on context, but if he's not good for a while of the year and then he picks it up, because then you have to question, was that true or was it late season? Because then you still don't fully know. So, yeah, I think that would be kind of disappointing because this was a roster last year that was supposed to everyone was saying playoffs or playoff potential. So, and I don't like to put as much usually like, oh, this is how they were thought of out of college and stuff. I think that's usually not too valuable once again in the league. But Caleb Williams was maybe the most hyped up prospect in football since I've been alive. Like literally maybe number one. Like maybe it's him, Andrew Luck, and then like I'm trying to. Andrew Luck was 2011, and when did I probably really started knowing about college players in like 2009. So it's like he's more hyped up than Stafford or Bradford or who else is there? Or just
Cam Newton.
Yeah, I think he's more hyped than Cam Newton, and I just don't think he's on that level. So yeah, I think it would be kind of disappointing.
Yeah, and to be honest, I would probably have the Bears higher if they addressed the defense a little bit. I did not like what they did in the draft at all. They kind of went all in on offense, basically showing that they want Caleb to work and that they're going to try to get on as many weapons to do so. So I think they kind of went all in on defense, but not enough on defense. 3rd place, I actually flipped this because I do think the Packers will get Micah Parsons. I have the Vikings in 3rd. It's just tough for me to trust a first-year quarterback. I don't think the Vikings are going to win this division. I think they arguably have the best roster in the division. I would still give the edge to the Lions. But it's just tough for me to trust J.J. McCarthy, a first-year quarterback, to compete for this division. So I have the Vikings in 3rd. And Brian Flores, that defense. I know the defense personnel got better. It's stacked. But that Brian Flores defense did get figured out after the first 4, 5, 6 weeks of the season last year. The teams kind of figured out his blitz schemes and kind of exposed that. So will that still be a problem this year? Maybe. Or they could come out on fire again and really give teams a handful defensively. But I do think that there is kind of a blueprint to figuring out that defense. And if that is the case, now you're going to have to rely on J.J. McCarthy really airing the ball, which I am not entirely sure. Oh, wow. Breaking news. The Cowboys are trading Micah Parsons to the Packers. And they have agreed on a 4-year, $188 million. I just got that on Sleeper. So, yeah, breaking news, Micah Parsons to the Green. If you want to check Twitter real quick on that.
Nope, it is.
Our friend who's a Green Bay Packers fan just texted our group. Yep, so it's definitely not fake. Yep. I only asked because it said Ricky Scoops had it first. So I just wanted to make sure that that was not fake. But, yes, the Micah Parsons to the Green Bay Packers. It's kind of good that we're having these technical difficulties because it got delayed. So now we officially have Micah Parsons on the Packers. I'm glad I flipped it. I have Packers at 2nd. Micah Parsons going there definitely helps that defense. I have question marks about that secondary. But the key to a secondary that could struggle is a great pass rush. And now you have Rashawn Gary. Well, I don't know the trade details. But I believe if they didn't get rid of Rashawn Gary, it's Micah Parsons, Rashawn Gary. Absolutely, in my opinion, great trade for the the Packers getting Micah Parsons. So yeah, I have Packers in 2nd. I kind of made that adjustment just an hour ago because of the news that the Cowboys were open to trading Micah Parsons, and the Lions at 1st. I think Lions losing both coordinators could be. I think it is going to be a problem, but I just think they have everything else. They're already a foundational team that's been there, done that. And I think they've kind of earned the right to be a team that we can sensibly view as the favorite in that division. So I have the Lions in first, Packers in second, Vikings in third, and the Bears in last place. I know you're kind of distracted now.
Yeah, now I'm distracted.
Crazy news. The Cowboys now, I mean, like the Cowboys in last place, and you just kind of alluded to it, that Micah Parsons is going to be gone. They're going to be a really bad defense.
Good for the Packers, man. Good for the Packers.
Okay, so what? And
I said this is literally what I'm keeping the Packers at 3 with Micah Parsons. I said that, and that's one heck of a timing. I mean,
I was looking at my phone. I saw a sleeper. Oh my! I mean,
Ricky. Good for Ricky, but also, could you imagine if we never heard about
Ricky
the Packers?
guy, by the way?
So
do we have? Is there a trade? Like, has the trade like details been?
47 million. Oh man.
I mean, I can't.
Good for the Packers doing something insanely bold. Yeah, I don't know if we're gonna get the. No, yeah, like in my head, Packers were always 3, and then Parsons, I considered it, but I just love the other 2 teams so much. But yeah, and I was like half listening to you. I'm just checking Twitter and everything, and our.
I don't with this trade. I don't. It's really hard for me to say. I mean, I'm not a huge Jordan Love guy, but he's been in the league. I just don't know. J.J. McCarthy really scares. He really scares me. I wasn't huge on him in college. He definitely proved me wrong, but I really don't think he had the college experience of being in positions where he had to throw the ball, and I think that could definitely happen this year. That's it's really J.J. McCarthy and Brian Flores' defense game figured out is really the main concern for me for the Vikings. Other than that, I mean, on paper, and I guess Justin Jefferson, the soft tissue injuries also scare me. So could that be injury that lingers? Who knows? But that is something that also scares me for the Vikings. Okay, we got to kind of regain our focus here. I know
I'm still. I'm waiting for the trade details. That's what I'm mostly waiting for.
I mean, I'm thinking it's definitely multiple firsts. I think
I saw it's at least 2 firsts. It's weird that it's taking a little while to come out.
Oh wait, hold on. Oh wait, you just said it. It's got the Packers are trading at least 2 first-round picks, according to Matt Schneider.
That's fun. That just makes the year more fun, and I think this is awesome, and I'm happy. See, it sucks because I didn't have this insanely surprised reaction because the moment you said something, I was like, "Oh, Micah Parsons trade to Packers," and you read it. I'm like, "Yep." It's like, so as much as I love Ricky, and it's kind of awesome. It's like, man, could you? If we didn't know about the Packers, that would be like.
So they said Micah was in an airport yesterday for
they always say
a second opinion on his back. I don't think that's what it was. He's probably flying Green Bay to agree with the
players in the airport, but yeah, Ricky is just
no, it wasn't that meme. There was actually a picture of him, like Rappaport even reported that he's getting a second opinion on his back. That was a report yesterday. Yeah, it's so. They just have to sign. They could have gotten done last year for what sub $40 million a year.
37. It could have been 37. Been like, wow, that's a lot. No, yeah, it's such a sign players early. I think the Rams do that. I think it's also like the Vikings do. There's another team who
no. If you know you have a player now, they should have never signed Dak. I think if they never signed Dak, they probably have Parsons and CD.
And they waited on Dak. You could have got Dak if they signed him year before for 48, and I'd be like 48.
And also, when they signed Dak, I believe when they signed him, the next highest paid quarterback was at 55, and they catapulted to $60 million. You didn't even have to do that.
Yeah,
but they had to be the first team to sign a quarterback to $60 million a year, have the highest paid quarterback.
Mm-hmm. No, yeah, he cares
about as well. They cost themselves about combined with Dak and CD, probably $10 million a year annually on their cap space just by waiting on us.
I feel very vindicated.
No, I knew when we were talking about Micah, I did not feel like a deal was get done. This, as I said, this felt different than other negotiations because this one there were no negotiations. This felt personal between Jerry Jones and Micah Parsons. It really did. It feels like Jerry Jones did not like Micah Parsons personally.
I don't know. I think Jerry has his style, and it sounds like Jerry did offer him a good deal. But then the Packers paying him a lot. That's a lot of money.
Is it 47?
I think so. I mean, that's a lot of money. Oh my! Expects in a player. Okay, it's a player. I'm gonna guess it's Leighton Vander Esch. I think we would know if it was Rashawn Gary. He's too good. We would know if it's Rashawn Gary. I think it's Leighton Vander Esch because then if the Cowboys like him, that's basically 3 first-round picks.
Wait, Leighton Vander Esch?
So,
wait, Leighton, what are you talking about? You mean Lucas Van Ness?
Leighton Vander Esch, who's that? Why am I being
He's
stupid?
retired.
Oh my gosh, I got a Luke.
Okay, guys, if you are watching, if you're watching I guess I'm kind of locked up in your division predictions.
Yeah, don't try that. Lucas Van Ness, he even shares my name basically. So yeah, but Lucas Van Ness got mixed up on names, but I think it'll be him because he's a first rounder. Good for Ricky. But yeah, I feel more vindicated. My Cowboys at 4, like that's pretty good.
Oh, I think they probably have the worst defense. They're going to be a bad defense. Like last year without Micah, they were a terrible defense.
What? Okay. Adam Schefter said 2 players and a frontline player. Does frontline player mean a good player or someone who plays?
No, frontline. No, I think frontline means like it's a defensive lineman. When they say frontline, I believe it's offensive because I think Romeo Dobbs is gone. My prediction is Romeo Dobbs is the other player traded.
It doesn't say that there's 2 players.
I think you said 2 players.
No, 2 first-round picks and a player and a frontline player.
Oh, I heard 2 players, including a frontline player. That's what I heard from you.
No, okay. but don't use the word frontline. That's like, come on.
It's definitely a pass. It's definitely a defense.
No, I know, but frontline could be interpreted differently.
All right, we need to move on to our final division because this podcast has been hijacked by internet connections, and now Micah Parsons being traded to the Green Bay Packers, who I think it was a 4-year, $118 million deal. We can talk about this forever, and I'm glad I flipped Packers a second, and I do think they have a chance to win this division if Jordan Love's consistent. If that secondary can.
I do too. It's literally just I think the other 2 teams are so good.
This division just got hard. We already made our picks. This division is the toughest to predict.
I'm sticking with my guns, and I think the Packers are going to be the best 3-seed division ever.
I originally had Packers out of the playoffs. I'm happy that they're not out. I have my playoff picture now. Last division, we have to shift to this.
Okay, I'm gonna kind of go fast.
Concentration levels back.
Yeah.
NFC West. This is another one where the circumstances is why this division is also very tough for me to pick. But go ahead.
Kenny Clark.
Wow.
The
defense now is.
I think it's going to be a lot of flipping weird. Rashawn Gary's pretty big. They're going to mess around. I honestly may like that more because Kenny Clark is getting old. You get off that contract.
You get Micah Parsons. I don't get as long as I mean.
Yeah, I may like that more.
If you're Packers, those picks are going to be in the mid-20s. Man, I'm telling you what, this trade. You know what's funny? The Cowboys played against the Packers, I think, 2 years ago in the playoffs.
Mm-hmm.
Is that a reason to trade? Like they saw Micah just basically be pretty not useless, but he had no sacks that game, no pressures created. Was Jerry Jones really like, let's do it? That's why I was also confused why the Cowboys would consider trading Packers. Now the trade package.
I don't like that's if that's the whole trade 2 firsts and Kenny Clark. Cowboys did not get enough. Like that's
the thing is. Wow. Here's another thing. I'm very surprised that Jerry Jones would trade with another historical NFC team like the Packers. And the Packers just manhandled the Cowboys, I think, 2 or 3 years ago in the playoffs.
No one tried to. I think that they had it. Micah Parsons.
Now maybe nobody else is offering 2 first. I think is
for the best pass rusher.
But I don't think you're getting 3 once from Micah.
But I want I want a second or a third.
Well, I want a second.
Kenny Clark's an old player on a.
Jerry Jones, man.
I mean, now they're going to be able to pay Dak, and they probably will because maybe Kenny Clark. I don't know what his contract is, but maybe
are they going to pay Pickens now? Are they going to pay George Pickens?
Yeah, maybe he's on 1 year left.
I know, but imagine Luke. This is why they will never be. Yeah, but go ahead.
NFC West.
We gotta get the NFC West.
NFC
NFL
West?
awards, the worst, most incompetent owner, Jerry Jones.
Yeah, all of the above.
At least this offseason.
I'm just gonna jump in my NFC West. Cardinals at 4. I don't trust Kyler. I like Jonathan Gannon as a defense coordinator. I don't think I like him as a head coach. Walter Nolan, I think he's on the PUP or the IR. I forgot which one. Seahawks are 3. I don't think the roster's super great. I think it's solid, and I don't fully trust Sam Darnold. I don't know how good he is, and that correlates to my Vikings at 1 for the North. 2, the Rams. Healthy or not healthy, I think I may still have picked the Niners to be the 1 seed. Talking about Matthew Stafford, of course, with his back injury. But the Rams were really good. Again, Matthew Stafford's back injury.
You would take the Rams at 2. Even if Stafford plays a whole full year, you wouldn't have him win the division?
He's going to be hurt no matter what. Something, I don't know. I like the Niners. I don't want to spoil something, but I have a reason. I've explained the Niners. But yeah, the Niners at 1, I feel like I've explained that a lot. I like their, great. I think they're bringing none of the main guys are really too hurt. I know Juwan and Ayuk, but they've had great offenses, but wide receiver is an overrated position, anyways, and so that's why I think that's an overreaction in general. And you have George Kittle and you have McCaffrey back, who McCaffrey could still be the best offensive.
If it's an overrated position, and I'm not saying I disagree or agree with you. But then they should have never taken Ricky Pearsall in the first round when they already had.
I agree. But Ricky Pearsall could also looks like he's kind of good, and so I think they'll be okay. But yeah, I never said they should have. I just didn't dislike the player who Ricky Pearsall is. I mean, you also didn't know when you took him that Juwan Jennings was going to become a 1,000-yard receiver, and so you didn't know that was going to happen. You didn't. I mean, yeah, that's irrelevant. Should they or shouldn't have? That's irrelevant now. But yeah, have them at the 1.
This division, this is my bold division. So you're the NFC East. Which did you have Giants second place last year in the division? And I know you had your Daniel.
I think I did.
Daniel Jones fandom, so I know which. So I have the Cardinals in 4th. I do think. I see Luke's not even listening to me anymore.
I'm listening. I'm just seeing if there's anything new.
Okay. So I have the Cardinals in 4th. Kyler's only had 1 season of above 500. They kept their offensive coordinator for whatever reason. They did add a lot on defense. I do think they could be a sneaky good defense. You have Will Johnson. Walter Nolan injury definitely hurts, but they invested a lot of draft capital onto that defense side of the ball. It's really about Kyler, who I think is entering his life. I think he's going to be in a different uniform in 2026. 3rd place, I have the San Francisco 49ers. I'm waiting for you to lose your mind. I think the 49ers have a very easy schedule. I do not like I think Seattle is a better roster than the 49ers. Personally, I think 49ers have more top-end talent, but very top-heavy. Don't have depth. Already have injuries.
Oh yeah, I got mixed up.
Yeah,
I don't think Seattle has great depth either, though. They're not this great depth team.
I do like the Nick Emanwari pick that they made a safety. They're going to move him around the field. I have Seattle in 2nd place in this division. Like I said, 49ers for me, just too many injuries. I'm not really in love with their roster to begin with. I think they lost a lot of defensive players this offseason. When we talk about like Denver's huge additions of Greenlaw and Hufanga, I know you made the point that those 2 players really didn't play for them. But if you're going to say those are great additions for the Broncos, then those are big losses of
you just said why it's not a hurt for the Niners, and I'm sticking by. I don't have a second counter argument. They didn't play much. I don't view it as a loss considering what they were last year. I just don't.
And then I have the Rams first. This is such a nerve-wracking pick for me because this pick can definitely just blow up as soon as like week 1, week 2 with Matthew Stafford's back. But I do think the Rams, because the way they constructed their roster, they went very aggressively after Devontae Adams. I do think if Stafford got hurt, I do think you could see them make an aggressive trade. It's the Rams. The Rams, they have the roster to compete for a Super Bowl this year. Now, if Stafford gets, I don't think they're going to go after they have 2 1s next year. I think they're going to keep those 2 1s. But could they go after a Kirk Cousins if Stafford went down? Sure. Could they go after Winston, who I think that's a much scarier proposition. I think he could really give away games. But could Kirk Cousins be on the Rams this year if Stafford gets hurt? And do we feel like he can still win the division with that roster? Absolutely. So I'm going to stick with the Rams at 1. I do believe if Stafford goes down, they still have a backup plan to get a veteran quarterback that could be a placeholder for this year, which Stafford basically is a placeholder for this year, but obviously much better than Cousins or any other alternative option. But I'm going to stick with the Rams at 1. Seattle at 2 is my surprise pick. 49ers at 3 and the Cardinals at 4. So with that being said, let's now reveal our – what was there something you want to say?
I was going to say, I had one thing with what you just said, and now I'm blanking because I saw something else there. I saw Kenny Clark has 2 more years on his deal. You can cut him and save $14 million next year, but then you have 17 on dead cap. He's 31 next year and then 27 the following. It's just like, what are you doing? And then, with the Rams, Jameis Winston is my trade if you need to make a trade. But I still think Stetson Bennett could be okay. So, now we can move to our seat.
All right, let's move to playoff pictures. What is your AFC playoff picture? What do you have from 1 through 7?
AFC playoff picture. So, number 1, I have the Bills. Honestly, I think that the Chiefs having Broncos in their divisions, but I have the Chiefs at 2. I think that makes it just a little tougher. Bills have easy division. Josh Allen, think I'm going to have a great year. Mahomes, I also think is going to be great. I just think that Bills get the 1, Chiefs at 2. Ravens at 3. I mean, top 3 teams. I feel like that's kind of, as I said, I think Bengals are going to push them, so I don't think they're going to be as much in that top 2. Texans at 4. Worst division winner. 5 and 6, I was debating a little bit, but I think Denver gets the 5. Bengals get the 6, which makes Bengals Ravens first round of the playoffs, which obviously is great. Then the 7 seed, I was really debating between Colts, Chargers, Patriots. I really discussed it out in my head.
I trust Harbaugh enough. I
just said I trust Harbaugh enough, so I feel like I got Chargers.
You chose Daniel Jones over.
I got Chargers. I was close on Patriots and Colts. Probably Patriots over Colts. So Colts were the least likely of the 3. And so, but then you have Herbert against Mahomes. And if he wants to erase all his playoff stuff, he could do it right there and beat the Chiefs. So that's my 1 through 7. You got Chiefs hosting Chargers, Ravens hosting Bengals, Texans hosting Denver. I think a really entertaining AFC playoff-wise after the divisions are kind of easy.
So my 1 seed, I have the Chiefs. Sounds like a homer pick. I just think they get Josh Simmons. Their offensive line is going to be better. You're going to have Mahomes average 4.1 yards per attempt last season, and I don't think that was because he fell off or because anything like that. And I don't think the number 1 culprit of that problem was the receiving corps, even though with injuries. I do think he simply did not have time in the pocket to really survey the field. Josh Simmons is going to be a huge help to this offense. I have Chiefs at 1, Bills at 2. I think it's pretty self-explanatory, very easy division. They should pick off a lot of wins in that division. Ravens at 3, and the Texans at 4. I mean, I think the Texans, maybe they can push for a 3 seed. I think there's still too many question marks about.
I considered them for the 3 slightly, and then I was like,
I think if that run game really gets going, and the offensive line just is competent, they have a chance to be the 3 seed. But I'm gonna stick with that 4.
No, yeah, I think they have a shot.
I have the Broncos at 5.
Oh wow!
Well, what? I had Broncos second place.
I'm a little surprised.
Okay, so I have Broncos 5, Chargers at 6. I think Harbaugh. They're not. I know the Rashawn Slater injury is devastating for them, but I do think Harbaugh. He has this linear progression, which with each team that he goes to. So I'm gonna have a 6. And at 7, I'm gonna. It really comes down to quarterback play. I'm going to trust Joe Burrow to catapult this team to the playoffs. When you really look at the AFC, I'm not saying it's really you have these elite teams, but then these teams that can contend for wild card spots. Are you really gonna trust the Jaguars or the Colts? I'm not going to. Patriots, I think they could, but I still think they're not. They still have to go through the step up, improving, and then try to make the playoffs. I don't think they're gonna go from 4-13 to them reaching the playoffs. I don't think that's realistic. And like Browns, Steelers, no. And then Raiders, I don't think so. So my playoff matchups are Chiefs have the bye, Bills, Bengals round 1, Ravens, Chargers, which I want to see a Harbaugh playoff bowl. I really want to see
that'd be good.
Ravens, Chargers, and then Texans, Broncos. So basically, not flip flop, but instead of Chargers playing Texans last year, they will now play the Ravens, and Texans will host the Broncos, which I think would be a very interesting opening round matchup.
We have the same 7 teams, a little different order. I believe these are 7 of the top 8 quarterbacks. I don't know who I think will be better by the end of the year, May or Nix. I don't know what I feel on that yet. But so it's top 7 or top 7, top 8 quarterbacks. But yeah, then I feel like we each feel like Patriots are close. So then are we doing NFC or are we doing AFC playoffs and then the entire NFC playoffs and then?
What do you mean?
So now are we going through 1 through 7 with the NFC, or are we going through what happens in the playoffs with the AFC?
Oh, you actually wanted to do like predictions of each round? Okay, we can do that. I thought we were doing seats, but we can go game by game if you really want.
Okay, well, I made that. I guess we'll do AFC first. Let me pull that up on a different piece of. It's on a different piece of paper here. I have first round AFC. I have Chiefs beating Chargers. I feel like that's not predicting Chargers win that. Bengals over Ravens.
So, quick. Would you hate Herbert? Or what?
No, it depends on how he plays in the game. Again, them losing to Texans is more about it was such an easy win with how bad Texans were playing, and they got blown out, and he was terrible. Bengals. So when you ask those questions a lot, it depends on what I see. I'm not all result. It's like I have to watch it, and if he plays well, but Chiefs are just better, then he plays well. Chiefs are just better. Bengals over Ravens. I think a big Burrow year. I think then we get some weird Lamar. Just even though I like Lamar. Broncos over Texans. I feel like that's pretty obvious I was going to pick. So then I got Chiefs hosting Bengals, Bills hosting Broncos. Chiefs beat Bengals barely, as we usually do when we beat them, or when they beat us, it's barely. Bills beat Broncos. And I'm really 50-50 on Chiefs-Bills, but I'm a Chiefs fan, so I go Chiefs. Really 50. I honestly, like, non-bias, I'm 50-50 on that game. But I'm going to Chiefs fandom takes it home.
All right. I didn't really go through these matchups, but I'll do it right here on the spot. Bills, Bengals. Bills, this is an interesting matchup because Sean McDermott in the postseason, his defense has given up north of 28 points a game in those games. And we saw a few years ago, Bengals went up there, won 27-10. I think it could happen again, but I still think the Bengals defense is still going to be a problem this year. And offensive line could be a problem as well. Even though I think Bills and Bengals are they're somewhat similar teams in my opinion. I think the Bengals they have a terrible defense. I don't think the Bills defense is as good as people think. I'm going to give Bills the edge at home. Ravens, Chargers. I would love the Chargers won this game. For me, as I said, I don't think Chargers have the personnel. I really don't. They lost Joey Bosa, Khalil Mack's another year older. I do think that stat of the Chargers giving up the least points last season I think it was like 20.1 points they gave up per game. And everybody's like, oh, they have this elite defense. It was really because their style of play and their offense really controlled the clock, ran the ball, kept the defense off the field. I think that stat is such an overstated fact that people kind of bring up about the Chargers defense. I don't think it's as good as people. It's coaching and circumstances of the offense controlling the clock. So I'm going to take Ravens in that. Texans, Broncos. If the Texans are healthy and they are not as cursed injury-wise entering the playoffs, I'm going to take the Texans in that game at home. The Texans have an elite defense, in my opinion. They really do have an elite defense. I don't think it gets talked about enough because of all the problems they had last season offensively. So I'll take the Texans over the Broncos. So that sets up. I guess it's kind of chalk. The Texans play the Chiefs and the Bills play the Ravens. Same thing as this. Like I said, I don't feel good about this being too chalky. But I'm going to take Chiefs over Texans. I'm going to take the Ravens over the Bills. I think the Ravens is – I know I have my questions about Lamar in the playoffs. I just do not love this Bills roster as much as other people do. I think there's still a lot of – I just do not. So I'm going to take Ravens, Chiefs, and then Lamar, his kryptonite is Mahomes and the Chiefs, and his playoff struggles will be exposed in this one against the Chiefs in the Super Bowl. It kind of seems a little biased, but my
one thing with the Bills roster is it was the same thing last year, and they almost made the Super Bowl. So I feel like you have to take that into account. That is all the same issues, and they still were right there. That's just how I feel. I feel like you have to take that into account somewhat. Like it's the same thing, and they still did it last year. And it's like if Josh Allen gets
all right, let's move to the NFC side of things. You can kick us off with your 1 through 7.
So as I said earlier, Vikings my 1 seed. I think it's literally the same thing as last year. Everyone's talking down on them, and then they're like, hey, they're actually in KOC is like possibly best quarterback guru coach. Number 2, I have the Niners. I think they're going to do well. Big Niners year. Eagles as my 3. They're still good. I think they'll fall back a little in the regular season, but it's still a good team. 4 is the Falcons, pretty chalk. 5 is the Lions. Again, they could have the second best record in the NFC, 5 seed. 6, we got the new Micah Parsons Packers, insanely good 6 seed in my opinion. And then number 7 is a 4-team discussion between Washington, Rams, Bucks, and Giants. We're going Giants to make the playoffs. Best pass rush in football. Bucks have their issues. Rams have a Stafford injury issue. We're going Giants to bring it home to the 7th seed.
I'm shocked that you're trusting that Giants offensive line to hold up.
It's going to do
pass rush, but I think that can only get you so far in games. I think that pass rush will have them competing in games, but I don't think it's going to end up in a lot of games.
I think the offensive talent's a little better than people think. The O-line is going to be, if it's like top 22, they can do it.
Top 22. I didn't realize top 22.
Yeah, it can't be horrific. It could be not bad, baddish, not good, and I think they can do it because I honestly like their roster and their coaching, and yeah.
So 1, and this kind of came as a surprise to me as well because I do think losing both coordinators is a huge deal. I think coaching's a huge deal. But I have the Lions at the 1 seed. I just think I trust them the most in that division. The Packers really gave Mike Parsons I'm very conflicted right now, but I'm still going to stick with the Lions at the 1 spot. 2, I know you're not going to like this. I have the Commanders at 2. I think they win enough games in that division. I'm not in love with that roster totally, but I think Jane Daniels is an elite quarterback. They keep the same pieces. I think Terry McLaurin could start out slow, but I think Debo has a bounce back year in a contract year. He wants to prove people wrong. And I think they'll do enough defensively with Dan Quinn there to just be competent on that side of the ball. I have the Rams at 3. Like I said, the Rams and Commanders, these two, especially Rams, I'm terrified of that pick. I have them at 3. Falcons at 4. I have the Eagles at 5. The Packers at 6. And then the Vikings at 7.
Yeah, I have 3 new NFC playoff teams. Niners, Falcons, Giants. Kicked out the Rams, Washington, Bucks. So...
All right, let's go through. I'm guessing you have the Niners. But go ahead.
What? Let me go through my picks. And I think I have some interesting picks.
Yeah, go.
I have Niners over the Giants. Giants make the playoffs. I think Dart's starting at that point.
To be honest, it's
an interesting matchup.
And I do not think 49ers. I think the 49ers have a terrible offensive line outside of Trent Williams. And they have injuries on the offensive line.
But you have the experience in the playoffs
that
the Giants don't. Like none of the Giants players have. No. So Niners over Giants. Yeah, McCaffrey's healthy. Packers over Eagles. So we're having Super Bowl champs knocked out first round, which honestly, as a Chiefs fan, I'm more scared of the Eagles than the Packers, even with Micah. So yeah, that'd be good for us. That's not a biased pick. I truly think that. And I made this pick with Micah in mind. Lions over Falcons. Pretty easy. So then we have Vikings, Packers, and Lions, Niners. I'm going to take the Vikings. And I love that roster. And I'm going to take Lions over Niners. I have Lions over Niners.
Yeah. So you have Lions in the Super Bowl?
Or no, Lions-Vikings title game. And it's like,
Luke, if I swear, if you pick...
I was close. I was like back and forth on this. But once it's playoff time, and I think JJ is going to be good, but I just don't think he'll be ready enough to beat the Lions in the title game. So I have Lions in the Super Bowl against the Chiefs. And again, that's another 50-50 game. But if you're a Chiefs fan, I got to take the Chiefs. Chiefs over Lions Super Bowl. But that's Lions-Vikings, I think, is such a fun title game because that means McCarthy's good. That means a lot. It's like Chiefs-Bills is great, but that's like you don't even explain it. Or it's just basic. Best 2 quarterbacks. Mahomes keeps me Allen. But Lions-Vikings, that's beautiful. It's beautiful.
So my first round, so I have the Lions at bye. I have Commanders hosting the Vikings. I'm not going to pick against Jane Daniels, who he won in Detroit last year in his first playoff appearance in divisional round. I'm going to take Commanders over the Vikings. I'm not trusting J.J. McCarthy in that spot. Rams hosting the Packers. I'm going to take the Packers. I do think the Rams, if they get to that point, Stafford's definitely probably most likely stayed healthy throughout the entire year. That offensive line, though, against Micah Parsons and Rashawn Gary and company, I think could be exposed. And I think at that point, if Packers, their secondary is probably good enough to hold up against the Puka and Devontae Adams. So I'll take Packers over the Rams. Falcons, Eagles. I was very close to I could see Falcons win this game. Here's the thing with the Eagles. I do think Sirianni's very dependent on his coordinators. I don't know what their offensive coordinator situation is. I don't know how good it's going to be. Could we see a repeat of that year where they kind of fell apart and they lost to Tampa Bay? I think it was it like 31-9 or 31? It's something like that. Could I see that? Absolutely. But I think the Eagles, experience, roster, I'm going to take the Eagles over the Falcons. So that sets up the Commanders versus the Eagles and the Packers against the Lions. So 2 divisional matchups in the divisional round. I'm going to take the Lions over the Packers. I still think that their roster is still the most complete, one of the most complete. If not, I think the NFC, then the Eagles probably the 2 most complete rosters. I'll take the Lions over the Packers. And the Eagles Commanders, I'm going to go, I'm gonna take the Eagles in this one. I do think that if Saquon's healthy and all that, which I do think if the Super Bowl or the Madden cover occurs, really has me scared as well. That was another part of my gut feel. So I'm gonna say Eagles Lions. I don't think we're gonna get a rematch of Lions Commanders in playoffs, and I'll take the Lions over the Eagles. So I had the same Super Bowl match was you, Chiefs Lions. I have the Chiefs beating the Lions. I think that's the matchup Chris Jones kind of exposes the interior of that offensive line.
It's so hard to pick against Chiefs as Chiefs fan.
Yeah.
It's
let's move to the NFL awards. So we'll be predicting MVP, Coach of the Year, Offensive Rookie of the Year, Defensive Rookie of the Year, Offensive Player of the Year, Defensive Player of the Year, Comeback Player of the Year, Protector of the Year, which before this I was not aware that was actually a award before Luke pointed that out, and then Coordinator of the Year. I think those are 2 new additions to the awards for the 25-5 season. So Luke, kick us off with who you have winning. Or do you just want to go through all these, or do you want to go through you give your MVP, I get my MVP, and so on and so forth?
I don't know. I was literally debating in my head as you were talking, and I don't know. Let me go through all mine, and then you can go through all yours. So I'll speed round this. Hopefully, no internet issues as we finish off this amazing episode.
It's been lagging once again.
MVP, I think, will be a discussion, and with my predictions between Allen, I think Burrow will be in there. I think Mahomes will have an MVP type of year, but he's not going to be the 1 seed, so he's not going to be talked about. I think then Purdy and McCaffrey are going to be back in it. But I'm going to give it to Allen again, 1 seed again. Man, it's really tough picking 1 seed and Allen to win MVP and not have him in the Super Bowl. I just can't. Coach of the Year, I don't know if there's been a back-to-back. I'm picking KOC because he's going to have J.J. McCarthy look good, and everyone's going to be like, dang. And I almost picked Kyle Shanahan, and I flipped it. Offensive Player of the Year, Jamar Chase. I think he's going to first pick in fantasy is going to be worth it. Bengals doing well means Jamar Chase is going to go nuts. Defense Player of the Year, Aiden Hutchinson. He was going to win it last year. I think he'd come back with fire, especially in this week 1. Aiden Hutchinson is going to get it. Rookie of the Year awards, Offense Rookie of the Year, Titans, 3 seed. That's basically Cam Ward doesn't get the 4 seed. He's a Offensive Rookie of the Year. Defense Rookie of the Year, with my Giants having a great year, has to be Abdul Carter. He's helping build the best pass rush for football. Comeback Player of the Year, Christian McCaffrey. I was debating between Aiden Hutchinson and McCaffrey, and I have Aiden Hutchinson win DPOY, so I think McCaffrey would just get the Comeback Player of the Year. Back-to-back with the Niners. Coordinator of the Year, helping them get the 2 seed, Robert Saleh, I think is really going to do huge things for their defense. And I honestly think that's the most under-discussed thing about the Niners is Robert Saleh is back. And so I think he's going to knock out that park. I think Coordinator of the Year has actually been there for a couple years because I feel like the Lions got it at some point. So Saleh, though, I feel pretty good about that. And then Protector of the Year, before we started recording, I heard you say his name, and I already wrote him down. Helping them make the playoffs still, Joe Alt moving from right to left tackle. I think he's going to be a great left tackle. He may not be the best, but switching positions at a young age with that, I think that'll get him Protector of the Year.
All right, so these are kind of bold, kind of along the same line. So MVP, I have Mahomes. I have Chiefs earning the 1 seed. If they're the 1 seed again and he returns to what he's been in the past, I have him as the MVP. Coach of the Year, I have Dan Campbell. The Lions earning the 1 seed, losing both coordinators. I think if that plays out, he should win Coach of the Year. What did you do? You did Offensive Player of the Year third. Offensive Player of the Year, I have Jamar Chase. I mean, he won Triple Crown last year, and I think he could repeat that. Defensive Player, this is kind of a bold one. I have Will Anderson Jr. of the Houston Texans. I think he wins Defensive Player of the Year. I think he takes that next step in his third year. Offensive Rookie of the Year, I have Trevion Henderson. I think he's going to take over this backfield sooner rather than later, and I do think he's going to be one of the main reasons.
My second pick.
I think he's going to be the main reason that I have written down as 9-8. That was the record I gave him. I think he's going to be a main reason why they improved vastly in 2025. Defensive Rookie of the Year, this was an easy one for me. Abdul Carter. I think he's arguably going to be a top pass rusher already in this league by the end of this year, and I think he's already the best pass rusher on that team. Coordinator of the Year, Comeback Player of the Year. I have Aiden Hutchinson, so I think he could win Depoy, but I also think he may start out a little bit slow because of the leg injury. We've seen leg injuries kind of players start slow, so I do think by the end of the season he could come on a bit. So I'll have Hutchinson as Comeback Player of the Year. Coordinator of the Year, I'm going to have Clint Kubiak. I know that I don't have them as a playoff team, but I do think that he's going to have the offense rolling. We saw what he did with the Saints last year in the first 2 weeks before, Derek Carr went back to checking the ball down a lot. I don't think Darnold's that type of quarterback. So I'll have Clint Kubiak as Coordinator of the Year and Protector of the Year, Joe Alt as well. I think the circumstances of sliding over from right tackle to left tackle is going to be the edge that gives him this award. So I have Joe Alt as my Protector of the Year.
Very nice, very nice. We had a couple similarities. Oh man, it's good awards. Oh man, those were good. I like my picks. I have a very fun year. A very fun year ahead.
I don't know how I like my NFC playoff picture, to be honest with you. When I was reading out the matchups, like divisional round, I don't know. Like, part of me thinks that the Eagles don't win the division. It could just be a catastrophic year where they have a bunch of injuries. But how many new playoff teams I have this year? 2?
I have 3 in the NFC, and then Bengals are new. That's 4.
I have 2 new playoff teams total.
Who am I kicking out of the play? Oh, I'm kicking Pittsburgh out of the playoffs. I have 4 new playoff teams, and yeah,
I have 2. I don't really know how I feel about that. Usually, I like to go on average. There's like 5 to 6 new playoff teams a year. I think the easiest pick for like a team that missed playoffs to make playoffs this year is the 49ers. I think it's kind of an easy pick for a lot of people. They were in last year, had a lot of injuries. They've been there, done that, but it definitely interesting year in 2025. Like I said, this was the toughest year for me to predict the divisions because of all the moving parts, circumstances. We just had a trade in the middle of the podcast. It's been kind of an up and down podcast because of internet issues. Micah Parsons getting traded. It's been a wild episode, but we will be back tomorrow with our week 1 predictions. So another prediction video, but we're going to say that for tomorrow. Give us a break, kind of a breather, because just Micah Parsons news was just another page in the story of how crazy the season's going to be. But until then, make sure to subscribe to the channel, follow the channel, listen to it on YouTube and Spotify. But we will be back tomorrow with our week 1 predictions.
Peace.